Hello, Wobbly Phil here. Wandering around the streets of Paris in the 1970s, it wasn't difficult to put your foot in it. And I'm not talking about the Gallic shrug that would greet you if you dared to order a coffee in English. No, the City of Light was sinking under a cascade of canine excrement, deposited on its pavements by pampered Parisian pooches. With one dog for every 5 inhabitants, the city's authorities were cleaning up 20 tons of turds a day. What they needed was a quicker way of scooping up all those barkers' nests. And Yamaha had the answer. By the late 1970s, Paris was gaining an unflattering sobriquet. The City of Light was fast becoming the City of Shite, so much so that in 1982, the then Mayor of Paris, Jacques Chirac, took matters into his own hands. Not literally, of course. No, he ordered 100 specially equipped Yamaha XT500s. Their mission, should they decide to accept it, was to ride around the streets of Paris and, suck it up. Officially called the Caninet and nicknamed the Moto Crottes, crotte being the French for poop, they scoured the sidewalks using a large scrubber and tank mounted to the rear of the bike. We'll never know for sure, but perhaps Mayor Chirac got his inspiration after treading on a turd in the Trocadero whilst waving off Cyril Neveu's XT500 at the start of the first ever Paris-Dakar Rally on Boxing Day 1978. If the bike could go 10,000 kilometres in 3 weeks and cross the Sahara Desert, beating 182 other vehicles such as Hondas, BMWs, Suzukis, Moto Guzzi's, and even cars like the Range Rover V8, it could easily make a clean sweep of a few tons of dog crap. I remember enduro or dual sport bikes, or scramblers, or dirt bikes, or trails bikes, or adventure bikes, or whatever the fudge we're supposed to call bikes that are street legal but can go off-road these days, were becoming all the rage in the mid-70s. You could even buy a tiny 50cc version from Gilera and pretend you were crossing the Serengeti on your way to buy a Mars bar.
Meet two people having fun, and meet the fun they're having.
Yamaha had been dipping its corporate toe in the muddy water since the mid-60s with its YDS 3C, sometimes known as the Big Bear Scrambler, a 250cc two-cylinder two-stroke, and followed that up 2 years later with the DT1. But American dealerships were clamouring for a 4-stroke version that was more reliable, more economical and easier to maintain, and therefore more suited to ranching and off-roading, which were the typical applications at the time. Yamaha's single-cylinder 4-stroke XT500 was both tough and versatile. First shown at a US dealer convention in September 1975 and launched in Europe in 1976, it was an instant success. Reportedly, Yamaha were surprised by how well it sold. In France alone, 62,000 of them wheelied out of dealers' doors between 1976 and 1990. The XT only weighed around 320 pounds, and according to contemporary testers, its 30 ponies could propel that weight to a top speed of over 90 miles an hour. All that for a sticker price of just over £800, or about £4,600 at today's prices. So what was its appeal, other than, of course, opening up a whole new world of motorcycling possibilities on the way to the supermarket? Well, the XT apparently handled brilliantly and was reliable if you kept on top of the maintenance, which could be done at home with a toolbox and a Heinz manual. A pal of mine who was a dispatch rider piloted his around the mean streets of London every day for years, then rode it to Algeria and back. On his return, he spent many more years giving it its daily thrashing. It was that good. Even Hollywood, or should that be Pinewood, stuntmen noticed the plucky bike's nimble abilities, and it featured in quite a few films in the 1980s, including a memorable alpine chase scene in 1981's James Bond offering You Only Live Twice. Needless to say, Roger Moore, who was only 54 at the time, jumps over everything like a 20-year-old slalom skier and gets away from the Yamaha riding baddies. Well, what did you expect? I hope that hasn't spoilt the plot for you. The only minor moan was that the Big Thumper wasn't originally equipped with an electric start, and if you didn't get it quite right when you were kickstarting it, you risked being scarred for life. Yamaha quickly modified them to include a decompression lever and a cam window, so you could line it up to top dead center, making it all a bit less hit and miss. Such was the success of the 500 that in 1980 it spawned siblings, the half-pint-sized XT500 and the even more dinky XT200. In fact, Yamaha couldn't stop making XTs, it seems, as the 1980s and 1990s also brought the XT350, the XT550, which finally broke the XT's 100 miles per hour barrier, culminating in the mid-80s with the XT600, the first to sport the legendary Yamaha moniker Tenere, another homage to the XT's Paris-Dakar provenance. In the 1990s, the XT went twin-cylinder and was upped to 750cc, becoming the Super Tenere. You can trace this marvellous machine's lineage all the way up to the present day, with the 1200cc Super Tenere arguably being the latest incarnation. Nowadays, you can pick up an 80s XT500 for around £6,000, and good examples from the 70s are fetching double that. That reflects the rosy glow of nostalgia that this bike enjoys, and to be fair, it still looks great 50 years on, almost a design classic, I'd say. Monsieur Neveu won that first ever Paris-Dakar Rally, and he did it again on the XT the following year. Paris retired its Moto Crottes in the early 2000s, following a harsh advertising campaign aimed at shaming dog owners, combined with tough fines for fouling. If you've been to Paris recently, let me know in the comments if that approach has worked, or if you encountered merde most foul. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please consider liking, subscribing, commenting, and sharing to let YouTube know we're doing something right here at 3 Phils. Thank you.
For mountain trails or city streets, and always for fun. Put yourself in the Yamaha picture.